I know.
Check it out.
Very nice.
There, the
I'm going to take a second or two to let you put your name and if you are new, so you can put your name and your information in the chat. As a reminder, we're asking everyone to remain muted during the presentation so that we can minimize any background noise and make sure that everyone can hear clearly. Throughout the meeting, please feel free to use the chat for questions and comments. Technical difficulties, y'all. Okay. We have a full agenda today focused on election work and organizing opportunities. So, without any further ado, I'm sorry, I'm having a little problem here. We have a full agenda. We're going to focus on today's election work and organizing opportunities, and we're excited to have all of you with us for that conversation. With that being said, I'd like to turn things over to Becky to provide some context for today's meeting and walk us through the agenda. Becky.
Thank you, PJ. And let me add my welcome to PJ's. Lovely to have everybody with us. And what I would love to do is spend just a couple of minutes going over the context for today's meeting. And let me start with just in terms of election dates. So I think everybody knows, right, that Tuesday is both the primary and also the final election for judicial seats. If there is a runoff in any of those seats, that runoff will take place June 16th. Also on July 28th, there will be a special election to fill Congressional District 13, the seat that David Scott had held before his death and that Jasmine Clark is running for in the primary. She will not be running in that special election, but that special election will determine who fills the rest of his term. And then, of course, November 3rd is the general. And let me just say, just as a little review about why Tuesday matters so much. And let me say this by just going over the candidates that Necessary Trouble is supporting in this primary. And first is our own troubler, Onika Willibus, who's running for District 7, DeKalb County Commission. We are hoping she takes it over the line. That election matters tremendously, not just because we know and love Onika, but because DeKalb really deserves a commissioner who is going to, given how blue we are, for goodness sakes, who's going to stand firm on data centers, who's going to stand firm on ICE, and who's really going to give a voice to South DeKalb. And Onika will do all those things. Jasmine Clark is the other candidate we have been all in on. And if whoever wins the CD13 primary on Tuesday will win the general, because that district is so blue. And it is crucial that we send Jasmine to Congress because she is a strong and proven fighter. We have known her for 8 years. We have seen what she can do. That's a really crucial race. Third is the combination of Jen Jordan and Miracle Rankin and Will Wooten. And I want to say something particularly about Jen and Miracle, who are running for the Georgia Supreme Court, State Supreme Court. What's happening right now with the Calais ruling, with the destruction of the Voting Rights Act, all of that at this point, we cannot trust the federal judiciary to weigh in on in any way that protects voters. The only chance we have is to get control and to get more of a voice on the state Supreme Court. And these issues will be fought out in the state Supreme Court. So it is crucial that we get Jen and Miracle and Will in on Tuesday. I want to say something about early voting numbers, right? And this is both to buoy people, but also it ain't over yet. Right? There have been over 1 million voters so far, record breaking for early voting, 19% higher than the last midterm election in 2022. So far, 56.7% of voters are Dems. 41.8 are Republicans. Dems at this point, in terms of early voting, have a 15-point advantage. And that is an absolute flip from 4 years ago, when at this point in time after early voting, the GOP had a 15-point advantage. The fact that this is the case when the GOP has a very competitive gubernatorial primary is mind-blowing. So these are very strong numbers. We are going in very strong to Tuesday, but we have got to finish the race. Finally, really important context, Calais, right? Heartbreak for our country. A incredible reminder to us that the gains that John Lewis and others made in the civil rights movement are being clawed back by the Federalist right, and we must not let it. We must not let the country go back to where we were. Wednesday, June 17th, is the first meeting of the special election for redistricting that Governor Kemp has called. Hold the date. Very large protest at the Capitol, coordinated by many groups. Necessary Trouble will be all in for that protest. So please hold the date. And let me also say that after Tuesday, after we get through the primary, we will be talking a lot more about Calais. But in the meantime, hold that date. That's kind of the context in which we find ourselves today. I wanted to say something by way of agenda. We have 3 kind of chunks. The first chunk is we will be hearing from and about the coordinated campaign. That's going to be our main speaker chunk. We will be talking a little bit about what Necessary Trouble election work is going to look like after the primary between May and November, and then we'll be talking about a number of Troubler work groups. And at that point, PJ, I am going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Becky. We are now going to move into a conversation about the important work that's happening this election season, and I'm very pleased to introduce Onika Willibus, who will welcome our special guest speaker for today. Onika, take it away.
Thank you, PJ. I'm really pleased to introduce our special guest today, Ms. Kyle Tromley. I hope I said that right, with the Georgia Coordinated Campaign. Many of us first connected with Kyle when she served as political director for Senator Jon Ossoff's campaign. And in that role, she was someone we would always count on, making sure that our concerns and our sense of urgency were communicated directly to the campaign and the senator's team. She helped create opportunities for organizations like Necessary Trouble and Indivisible to engage directly with Senator Ossoff, and she consistently showed up with responsiveness, professionalism, and a real commitment to grassroots organizing. Kyle has spent the past decade working on statewide campaigns across the country, including campaigns for Hillary Clinton, Pete Buttigieg, Steve Bullock, Tim Ryan, and Senators Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. Before coming to Georgia, she helped lead statewide organizing efforts in Ohio, including running the field program for the Ohio Democratic Party campaign that successfully enshrined abortion rights into the Ohio state constitution, a major grassroots victory powered by volunteers and community organizing. In February 2024, Kyle moved to Atlanta to serve as political director for Senator Ossoff's campaign. She later joined the Democratic Party of Georgia as the campaign's director, where she helped statewide efforts focused on the Public Service Commission races and local mayoral contests across Georgia. Since December 2025, she has served as the coordinated director, continuing to build the statewide infrastructure, partnerships, and organizing strategy needed for the critical elections ahead. What really stands out about Kyle is her belief in year-round organizing, coalition building, and the power of grassroots volunteers to make change happen. We are so very grateful she's taken the time to join us today. Please join me in welcoming Kyle Tromley.
Hello, it's Tromley, well, Trom. But thank you so much. I'm always getting used to folks talking about the work I have done. So, one second, all right, can you guys see my slide deck? Great. Well, awesome. I think this is the third time I've spoken to Necessary Trouble. This is my first time talking to you all about Ground Game Georgia, the 2026 Democratic Party of Georgia coordinated campaign. So, oh, let's see here. Next slide. Okay. Well, I already got a great introduction, so no need for me to dive in. But just wanted to start. I know this is super important to Becky, and this is something that I've been starting my team and I every presentation with is what is a coordinated campaign, right? I've been a part of many at every level of the organizing chain of a coordinated campaign. I lived the 2024 Georgia campaign alongside a number of you. And I know that Georgia Democrats have not been very successful at coordinated campaigns, whether that's because national is so involved, we're siloed, folks don't have the information they need. So just kind of want to reset with folks as we head into this crucial year of organizing. But at its core, coordinated campaign is everyone on the ballot pooling their resources to get Democrats elected at every single level. This is something that Senator Ossoff cares deeply about, particularly this year, knowing that he has to win decisively and has a responsibility that the money that is being brought in at record paces by his team, we're able to work with Chair Bailey and all the other Democrats on the ballot to make sure that they have those resources to their disposal as well. Um, what do coordinated campaigns do? So, everything that we do as a coordinated campaign, we are the field program, whether that's for Senator John Ossoff, the soon-to-be gubernatorial nominee, whether it is on Tuesday or after the runoff, every level of the ballot, anytime someone is within a few points, right, of winning an election. We call that a field margin, which I'll go to on another slide. But the idea is that a coordinated campaign is able to recruit and train volunteers to engage in direct voter contact, so mostly door-to-door knocking in communities, phone calls, text messages historically. I think you all on this call probably get as many texts as I do daily. So maybe won't be a tactic we lean into as much as coordinated this year. But making sure that folks are knocking doors, we are coordinating on data to make sure that everyone on the ticket knows who we're talking to when we're talking to them. And then running a full-scale voter access, formerly voter protection program. So I'm going to get into a lot more of that, of what our team is building. But just want to name, right, of we are the ones at scale pushing that field margin. My team and I are not responsible for communications, messaging, digital, any political pieces for candidates, right? Like we have one job, and the struggle with working on a statewide operation, right, is everyone has an important role to play. Just like our folks at Necessary Trouble, right, and indivisible groups, the work you show up and do mirrors that of the Democratic Party infrastructure, but you have a specific lane that you have. And so that's part of what we're working on this year with the coordinated is what is our job? What are the things that only we can do? And how do we execute and communicate about those things? Um, so just to name this again in a different way of a field margin, that is what my team is tasked to do. We're going to spend about $15 million to make sure that we are getting 2 to 3 percentage points for all of our candidates. And turning out this group of voters where we're not necessarily talking to straight up persuasion voters, right? Those folks that really need a lot of messaging to pick the candidate they're supporting. But those folks that are like, stop coming to my door in October to tell me about an election, like I should have been hearing about you already, from you already. That's where my team comes in and why we've already started building and have folks on the ground in May. Um, just to name for folks, this is actually a slide taken from the DSCC, which is the Senate campaign arm of the Democratic Party. Their job is first and foremost to protect incumbent Democrats, so Senator Ossoff, and then they're the ones that across the country are investing in states to take back the Senate majority. Um, I get a lot. I talk to them every single day. Some days I wish I didn't, but that is my cross. But it was very clear coming out of 2024 that we were trying to do too much, right? We had folks on the ground that were paid staff at no fault of their own that were like, I don't understand what my job is. It was what was called a blended model. Folks weren't just focused on having good conversations and recruiting folks and teaching them how to do those tactics. So this year, it is very clear to us that we have to simplify our organizations. Who is directing to who talks to who, and make sure that we, as the coordinated campaign, are able to recruit volunteers in every community across Georgia, and so that those folks can engage with voters in their communities. Um, and this is another slide from the DS, but again, just say it again of our job is to build a volunteer organization that is equipped to have high quality conversations with voters. So, what does that mean? This is a very simplified version of the organization that I've been building since November. I think to step back as well of this is the earliest a coordinated has ever been set up in the state of Georgia. We had the largest investment and the earliest investment that we've ever had in Georgia from the DSCC, which was able to give us starter money, right? So Chair Bailey and Senator Ossoff's teams didn't have to foot a bill as we were trying to decide how we were going to build this. And I guess for context for you all, my directors who you see here, Molly, Forrest, Kevin, and Nick, they began in late January, early February. In 2024, directors did not start until May. And in 2022, that was mid-summer that they had their full departments on. And then you'll see here of the breakdown of this bottom left of my organizers. We have budgeted out to be able to have 88 organizers on the ground, which would include 8 campus organizers who will start on campus in July to prepare for the school year. And it's important for you to know that is the most organizers beyond the 2020 runoff that we will have ever had in Georgia. And for context, the 2022 Warnock coordinated campaign had 49 organizers on the ground at its peak. And because folks leave, things happen. On general election day, they were only at 40 organizers. So we're already talking about an organization that's going to scale a lot larger than even in 2022 when we were successful. A couple other things to point out on this. I report to not John Ossoff and not John Ossoff's campaign manager. And I say that I love them. I work in their office, but I first and foremost work for the Democratic Party of Georgia. I still have my Georgia Dems email. My entire team is going to have Georgia Dem emails. Charlie Bailey is the one that signs our paychecks. So I just think that that's such an important piece because I think coordinateds I've been on in the past, oftentimes it feels like it's just the top of the tickets field program, and we just call it a coordinated campaign to make folks feel better. And so that has been a commitment from me and the senator of while yes, often the senator will be front and center on things. The work that we are doing now to build infrastructure is going to benefit folks down ticket, which is why the other dotted line is me reporting to them. I will be meeting with, I already meet with Chair Bailey and Felicia, the new ED, pretty much every day. We're in constant communication, especially with the Supreme Court races going on right now. But my cadence of communication will uptick certainly after June 16th, with all of our down ballot candidates as well as the caucuses. Um, let's see here. So phases, just generally for folks of phase one for us was standing up this operation. That ended in April, and we have now moved quickly into phase two, which will be through the end of July. And this is all about building a volunteer base, getting in contact with historical volunteers that we know have volunteered in the past, but also how are we having community events, opening offices, having one-on-ones, getting out to different community events on the weekends, right, to make sure that we're helping get new people in. I will say we had an Augusta rally with the senator in mid-April, and of I think that there was 800 people there in attendance. We signed 200 people up to volunteer at the Augusta rally. And a number of those folks said that this is their first political event, right? So that's good in a time where we all are, I'm sure, are needing hope and also, frankly, are needing other folks to step up and join us in the work. So very excited to get those folks engaged this year. And then phase three will be when we're really starting to, you start seeing our posting about we knocked 1 million doors, right? Like we talked to this many voters. That is what we're really going to start seeing in August and September. And then phase four will be GOTEV, get out the early vote and get out the vote. This will be, the bus tours, bigger rallies, souls to the polls support, ramping up our voter access program to be fully operational. And then phase five, which is unique to Georgia, post-election. So whether that's us needing to cure ballots, and depending on how the other party behaves of legal action, comms action, those pieces, but then as well, the runoff of we would be the ones that then, say Senator Ossoff didn't make it, but a bunch of our other candidates did. Like that's our job to get them over that finish line for the runoff. Um, and so we have done a lot actually. Just like looking at this, I'm like, wow, okay. In April, I see a couple of folks on this call that attended, but we had a first of a kind event here in Georgia for the Democratic Party. We hosted a volunteer summit here in Atlanta. We had 100 attendees, which was fabulous. That was our goal. This was the thought of this was let's bring folks that we know that are already volunteer leaders in their communities and bring them in and teach them what we teach our organizers on onboarding, right? Give them like a peek behind the curtain of how I've thought about building the program, right? But most importantly, at that point, we had onboarded 8 of our regional organizing directors who will manage the organizers on the ground. And we wanted to help facilitate that relationship. Often we just drop regionals and communities and are like, okay, good luck. And so we found that this was a way better way to do that of here, meet some of these folks, like they know what they're doing, listen to them, and then we were able to just guide those conversations. So this is a photo of the first 8. The map is where folks were from. We had hotel rooms for folks coming from outside of Metro Atlanta to make sure that it was an accessible event to not just the Metro. Big shout out to DeKalb County, who had about 23 people there. I'm sure that's a number of folks on this call as well. But all around, just exciting moment of like building momentum from just the jump for our group. And then I mentioned the Augusta rally, but our 8 rods who have been on the ground for a month have started getting out in the community, having some in-region events, and just starting to get to know folks. And I will say, we just onboarded 4 more regionals this past week. And 10 of our 12 regional organizing directors are from Georgia and are being regional organizing directors in their home places. So really proud of that. We just brought on 30 organizers. 28 of them are going to be are Georgians and are going to be organizing their communities as well. So I think ultimately across that in my headquarters staff, the coordinated is sitting at 73% Georgians, which is just incredible and very exciting. And something that myself and the senator and Chair Bailey care deeply about is making sure, there are groups out there that are helping build the candidate bench, but it's our responsibility to make sure that we're bringing Georgians along to become operatives, and then treating them well and teaching them how to do things. So one day, a girl from Indiana like me doesn't have to come to Georgia. We just have 5 people here that are excellent and able to do it because we've helped develop them. So, and then this is them. This is all the regionals, our deputy organizing directors, Molly with the pink hair as our organizing director, and then all the new organizers. This map is a photo. They did their first call time recruiting volunteers. And this was their first call time session. Every dot is someone that signed up to complete a shift, a canvassing shift, with the team on their first call time. So very exciting. But just some bigger awareness for folks by the end of phase 2. So by the end of July, my team will be 35 headquarters staffers. So these are the deputies, my data team, folks like that, operations. We'll have 80 field organizers. So we brought on 30. Mid-June, we will bring on 15 more and ramp from there each month to 15. I mentioned the 8 campus organizers. I'm realizing I didn't put on here. We also, June 1st, will have an out-of-state manager joining our team. This person is going to be running and facilitating most of our virtual phone bank operation. Just so, again, trying to simplify what is happening in field offices. It's not that folks won't be able to make phone calls in field offices, but it's going to be this person is in charge of facilitating that so folks can focus on actually talking to people in person in offices. And then 30 field offices. So we will be releasing a mobilized link on Monday. We are actually opening our first office in South DeKalb on Saturday, May 23rd. A lot of the feedback I'd heard from folks, is I always talk about 2024, there was no field office in Statesboro, which always just really rubs me the wrong way. And so the other thing, though, was this idea of where are we setting up offices and where are we doing it from the jump? So very important to us to make sure that South DeKalb was going to be our top priority, and grateful that it is. So Senator Ossoff will be at that office opening canvas launch on Saturday, May 23rd. I know it's a holiday weekend. Being from Indiana, it's Indy 500 weekend. But we knew we needed to just get it open so we can get the rest of the offices open as well. That's that. This is this year's 12 region map. So much to say about this, but for your awareness, this is probably the hardest decision I've made to this point. This is how we decide where organizers are going to be, um, which counties are together, how we want to make those decisions of how these lines are going to get cut, because we could do it a number of ways, right? We could have done all 14 congressional districts, but again, not all districts are created equal thanks to gerrymandering. We could have just kept full counties together, things like that. But ultimately, we decided is one, reelecting John Ossoff, yes, is so important, but we are 10 seats away from flipping the Georgia State House. And I know you all have been talking about the Supreme Court races, about the US Supreme Court, right? But we know, and Chair Bailey knows, that like this is the best opportunity for us. So the first consideration for us was we wanted to keep the 14 top tier state house seats, and I think it's 3 for the state Senate, whole. they should be in one region so they know exactly who they're talking to. And then the step further with that is for like House District 53, where Susie Greenberg ran last cycle. One organizer, that is their turf. They don't have anything else. That is their one job. And whoever ends up being our candidate in that district will know this is your person. This is who you can rely on. Um, and then from there, it's considerations like, my DeKalb folks, I know they were a little upset with me at the Vol Summit. You'll notice DeKalb has touches as part of 4 different regions, right? That's because DeKalb has so many active volunteers, um, and not as many persuasion and turnout targets. And so that's another consideration we have to make is if you all have all of the volunteers, but not all, we would be asking you to go knock doors in places that aren't your communities, and that didn't sit right with us either. So I will make sure that Becky gets all of this information so that you all can have it. We have a living, breathing doc that has close up of all of these regions with the contact information for the regional and the organizers as well. So we'll make sure that you guys get those so that you have that. Um, and then the big thing, right? It's one thing to talk about coordinating, it's another to actually do it in practice. So I just wanted to let you all know some of the things that I've been working on that we're going to be rolling out here now that we're going to start having candidates on Tuesday. First and foremost, script access. So, it's not enough for us to tell candidates we're going to knock doors for them. They need to be on the script. If we're knocking for a state house candidate and they're helping bring folks, right? Like they've got to be on the script, to be able to collect that data for them. I think then the next piece of that though is great. Someone's on the script, right? They need to be able to access that data after. They can't just trust that we collected survey responses, state house races particularly, right? Like we're talking about a few hundred votes, and being able to actually have the data we collected lets these campaigns make informed decisions about which voters they need to target with other methods. So that is something we're working on, MOUs, actual legal documents about data sharing that the coordinated campaign and the candidates will sign so that we're protecting ourselves, right? Of I'm saying we're going to do this, and this document is going to allow you all to hold us accountable to doing that. And in the same way, part of those will be other considerations as well of have you been knocking with us, right? We're able to help do large scale volunteer recruitment, but our candidates actually knocking packets with us like they said that they would, right? So that's the point of that. We are working on a shared precinct tracker. Not everyone's going to want to knock with a coordinated, particularly this summer when folks are getting started. Maybe they're doing full persuasion and don't want to be associated at the moment. That's totally fine. But we want to know where they're knocking so that we're not knocking the same precincts that weekend, right? So trying to open up that a bit more for folks. My organizing director, Molly, and her deputies who are here in Atlanta. Later into the summer, we're going to be rolling out what we're calling Ground Game Georgia tables. And this will be where regions get to come together on a Zoom. At some point on a cadence of probably once a week, but this is county chairs, CMs, whoever has a like needs to be there. But to talk to our headquarters team to be like, well, what precincts do you all need us to prioritize this weekend, right? Let's have that conversation here as a team. And it's my way of creating more feedback loops that things just don't die with a regional organizing director. Folks are actually able to be talking to my headquarters teams that kind of have the keys to the kingdom of some of these decisions, to make folks' life a bit easier. Office space, that's another thing we're working on is again, we're going to have these 30 offices. We've tried to be really intentional about having them on lines of these state house districts. But folks will be able to work and have their literature events at the office space, working there, and so on. So that's just some of the pieces. Some of it sounds really basic, but it's things that we have not done here in Georgia prior. So excited to get it going once we have our full ballot. Um, And then voter protection is not my expertise, so I'm gonna do my best to go over Nick, our voter access director's slides. But this is a huge part of an operation in Georgia. A couple folks on here I know have stepped up and have been liaisons and observers and so on. But basically, our program breaks down into four buckets: poll watching, election admin, voter education, and post-election. Um, just kind of top lines because I know I'm always like, wait, remind me what this is that we're doing. Um, First and foremost, election administration. My team is out there working with the liaison program to make sure that we're building relationships with the folks that are actually running elections day to day. This is so important so that we can call them and be like, hey, what do you mean the Cobb School Board has said that we can't use schools for early vote or polling location sites anymore, right? My team got that call and immediately we're calling the county party chair, a local electeds, folks like that, to move the needle and just let folks, if anything, if we can't get something done, to let them know that we're watching. And then building out the legal boil room for election day. This is it's not as fun as it sounds. It's mostly just folks all sitting in a room on their laptops, doing lawyer things, and making sure that we just all are working from the same hymnal. This will include our national partners, down ballots, the party, the senators team, and then our team and folks like Dave Worley, Cecilia, who's currently still over at the party as voter protection director, and so on. Poll observation. Again, this is something that we are able to do at scale so that candidates don't have to worry about, well, who's actually in the room observing these vote counts for my races. So our team recruits, trains, and credentials 1 to 2,000. Probably saying this year it's going to be closer to the 2,000 poll observers across the state. One of those buckets is those folks are inside to make sure that things are running smoothly. They're able to let our team know if something is going wrong, so us on the outside can help get them information or an idea of what they need to do. And then the outside, which is monitoring potential disturbance outside. There's going to be lines in Georgia. It's just the reality of the state that Republicans have made. And so, again, making sure that we have eyes and ears on the ground so that we can report things, make action, and make sure that folks are able to vote, which is their right while we still can. And then post-election, it is exactly what it sounds like, working with county parties to make sure that we have folks that are observing the monitoring and all the ballots being counted. Um, and the duplication panels, basically like a Dem and a Republican looking to make sure. It's very much like Al Gore 2000, the hanging chads is the kind of the vibe I always laugh about. And then voter education, I would say is probably, in my mind, one of the most important things that they do that really runs under the radar. This is preparing voter reg materials, right, for our campus program, vote by mail, cure, working to make sure that anything that leaves the Democratic Party of Georgia, our statewide candidates, or the Ossoff team, if it mentions voting, my team is looking at it, making sure the dates are right. We don't want to disenfranchise anyone. And the same for scripts, things like that, just to make sure that any information that is going out, we don't have to go back to them again and be like, oh, sorry, we made a mistake. This was wrong. And then everyone's favorite, the voter protection hotline. It's the same number it's always been. One of the things we are going to do is anyone that signs our MOU, we're going to ask that unless it's a persuasion piece that you don't want Democrats on, folks are going to be required to put the voter protection hotline on their pieces. We have it. We know we need it. We've got to get it out though, so folks can see it. And then I will say on that note, one of the coordinated pieces I didn't talk about is, as we head into get out the vote, those final months, we're going to be working on a full ballot get out the vote card. Not everyone's face will be on it. That's not how lit works, unfortunately, in a state with such a long ballot. But that's where places that we're going to have the voter protection hotline. So folks know, regardless of the candidate, you call this number and we will help you. But we are up to, I think it's 70 volunteers that have been working on the hotline for the Supreme Court. It runs currently. You call it now. I'm not sure someone picks up since no one's voting right now. But someone is checking voicemails for when it's not live. Um, and so we'll have that for election day as well. Nick and his team have been doing virtual boiling, and will be with me at headquarters with Chair Bailey on election day. And we'll also know my birthday is election day, May 19th. So we have to win because of that. But our liaisons have been doing the work already with election officials to do a number of things. And the hotline, like I said, 70 active volunteers, so folks that have come back for more than one shift, has been going since April 25th. Um, and this is my sweet dog Murphy, who has to go on every slide ever. But I also just want to know, again, my organizers have been out this weekend knocking doors for the Supreme Court. They've knocked about 3,000 doors in communities across the entire state. Again, as a further commitment of this is going to be a coordinated this year, and this is about every Democrat on the ballot, not just my pal Senator Ossoff. So yeah, I couldn't see the chat box while I was presenting, so I don't know if someone wants to ask questions, wants to read some of these off to me.
Yes, Kyle, I got
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Thank you so much for your remarks. And I will go ahead and we'll highlight two questions that I see in the chat. The first one is, what can you explain how you will be interacting with the Fighting 50 candidates?
Yes, hi Pam. We love Fighting 50. I've been working with Pam and Bob since I got on the ground in 2024. And I do want to say Fighting 50 has done an incredible job, not just recruiting candidates and supporting them, as you're all shaking your heads, but I think also have gotten the core mission of what coordinating is, right? And making sure that their candidates know what other folks are doing, and just being very intentional about that. So the plan as of right now, right, is I don't see them as just the Fighting 50 candidates. And I know, Pam, I did get on a call recently. But starting May 20th after the primary, right, if someone is the Dem candidate, we're going to be reaching out to set up a first time Zoom with the candidates and myself, just to, again, be like, hello, this is who I am, right? And start facilitating some of these conversations. Um, and I'm trying to think about what else I want to say about that. I think that's the big thing here, Pam, at first, right? And what even folks want to engage with us on. I think like Eric Gisler comes to mind, and obviously he's a state rep, but he's technically not a target, right? Because we did such an awesome thing electing him, right? But like we're already talking with his CM. So I think it's the same as the targeteds. It's just yeah, it's just starting from that Zoom. So I see you shaking your head, yes. So I think it was a sufficient answer. So but they will get anything else that our targeteds are getting. So
Awesome, thank you. And then another one, can you share a little more information how data that is gathered in canvassing and phone banking can be shared with local committees in Vote Builder in time or as it is occurring?
yes, this is my favorite. I am like such a nerd. I could talk about this for hours. Um, it's actually a really simple thing. And I think that's what makes it more frustrating that it hasn't been happening. So what we're working on is making uniform survey responses, right? So say I am Beth Fuller in HD 53, right? The survey response that anyone in Vote Builder should be using, and these will be rolled out, is generic state house, right? And that means if someone shares, the coordinated goes out knocking, we collect some data on Beth Fuller on our scripts. We are able to, it doesn't happen instantaneously because Vote Builder has to reset every day, but that next day, Beth's team would be able to pull a list in Vote Builder, narrow to her district, and then any of those generic responses that we collected, she would know are for her because they're in her district, right? So again, it's not going to be an automatic thing. It's something that they will appear, and we will make sure that we're doing actual trainings with candidates specifically to make sure that they know how to even pull these things, right? And then we're still working on internally of as far as like county party committees go, right? I think there's an argument to be made that some folks should just have access to the coordinated vote builder. That makes organizations' lives easier. And I think the one thing we have not figured out yet for data sharing is any information we collect on volunteers. The two sides of Vote Builder don't talk to each other, my campaign and my voters. And it makes it a little tougher for sharing information across the committees. The commitment I have made to folks, though, is that once the general election is over, we will make sure that counties and organizations get access to all of the volunteer data that we've collected in their my campaigns. So,
Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you again, Kyle. We appreciate your partnership, your accessibility, and your leadership during this very important time that we are entering this year. And if you can, because we did have a couple more questions in the chat, can you put your email in the chat? And then if you've asked a question that we did not answer, if you can just go ahead and email Kyle and she can respond to you. All right. So now we'll go ahead and hand it back over to PJ.
Thank you so much, Kyle, and happy birthday. We appreciate you joining us today and for sharing your insights and updates with us. I've been a resident of South DeKalb for over 20 years, so I am very much interested in the long ballot and probably candidate education, definitely candidate education. So we thank you for that. And I also want to thank Onika for facilitating the conversation and the discussion. Okay. There is clearly a tremendous amount of important work ahead of us. And we appreciate everyone taking the time to be here and to stay engaged. At this point, I would like to turn things back over to Becky to begin our discussion on the different forms of election work necessary trouble will be involved with between the primary and the general election. Becky?
Thank you, PJ, and also thank you, Kyle. And let me just say that this beginning of the coordinated is like no other beginning of any other coordinated, right? It is a really different day. It is a really, really different day, and it feels so hopeful. And so what Kyle has been talking about is kind of the big picture, right, of what the coordinated is going to be doing all over the state. And what I want to talk about is what we as troublers are going to be focusing on after we get through Tuesday and between that day and November 3rd. And let me also say that, again, if there's a runoff, then that all gets bumped a little bit. But assuming that there's not a runoff that we'll be involved in, let me talk about the various buckets of work because there are a lot. Let me share my screen. Okay, so one area. So what after Tuesday, after the primary, and we will probably be doing this at actually the June Troubler meeting, is we will be selecting two House, probably reps rather than senators, probably. Because as Kyle said, we are 10 seats away from flipping the Georgia House, which is where the seat of power, where our next possible seat of power sits. We'll be deciding together on which of those candidates we will be adopting. As many of you know, Necessary Trouble doesn't so much endorse as we adopt candidates, right? We support them. We go all in for the ones that we enter into relationship with, and we will be choosing two. And in that effort, we'll be choosing two that are either we can flip those seats, or if there's a really vulnerable Democratic seat that we need to protect. and we'll be deciding that together in June. When we do that, we will be also partnering with those campaigns and with the coordinated campaign in that district, right? So the three of us will be working together on that. And so let's just say, we had certainly worked for Kelly Kaufman in North Fulton 2 years ago. We've worked in that seat every 2 years. If we end up working there again, we will be working with whoever wins that primary. And as we work for her, for instance, we will be doing phone banking, we'll be doing canvassing, we'll be doing a fundraiser, postcarding, bannering, social media, all the things we do to support candidates. When we're canvassing and when we're phone banking, we will not just be working for that candidate, but we will be working for that candidate and the whole Democratic slate, right? So it will be stacked. So that's one very, very important area of work that we'll be doing. We'll also, as you all know, we have a special necessary trouble focus on the Public Service Commission, spearheaded by our Public Service Commission work group. And so there will be an extra effort to focus on re-electing Peter Hubbard in District 3 and electing the primary winner of whoever wins for District 5. And if we could protect Peter's seat and also get a third vote on that, that will be a game changer. That's another area of work that Necessary Trouble will be focusing on. A third area of election work is a kind of our partnership with Fighting 50, and also the relationship between our rural partnership work group and the Fighting 50. And our relationship with the Fighting 50, it looks like social media support. It looks like Necessary Trouble volunteers supporting the Fighting 50 in a number of ways, which you will hear about as time goes by. We will probably be doing postcarding for at least a couple of those Fighting 50 candidates. Our commitment has always been not just to flip seats, but to support those heroic candidates who are running in very red districts. So we will continue to do that by supporting the Fighting 50. And we'll also be kind of offering support more generally to the coordinated campaign. Since many in Necessary Trouble are located in DeKalb, we will have a special relationship with the DeKalb field offices, South DeKalb and North DeKalb. In the past, Troublers have helped staff those offices. We've gone in and helped, answer calls and man the front desk and hand out signs. And we've also been asked if we might be willing to help with training and support around canvassing and phone banking. And so that may be involved also. And then finally, voter protection, which Kyle talked about. We have a very long-standing partnership with the DPG's voter protection team that has been in place for about 8 or 10 years now. The Necessary Trouble Voter Protection Work Group is the funnel for that, right? They partner with the DPG VoPro team. The VoPro team sends them requests, and they funnel it to their folks. Including things like the hotline that Kyle mentioned, poll watching, which Kyle mentioned, and a number of special projects which over the years our Troublers have done with the voter protection team. And there will be some recruiting in the second half of this meeting. So we'll be talking about all of these from a recruitment point of view. But I just wanted people to have an overview of what the buckets of election-related work are that Necessary Trouble will be doing from May to November. And there will be, suffice it to say, that there will be something for everyone. So my hope is that every Troubler will find a piece of election work that they can engage with and dig into. And on that note, I am going to turn this back over to PJ. Thank you, PJ.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you very much. Okay. Um, I'm lost. Pam.
Hey, PJ.
Hi, darling.
This is the other Pam here. So
That's the other Pam. Okay.
Pam 2 here anyway.
So Pam, take it away.
All right. Uh, as Becky mentioned and everything, we are all about recruitment and such here. And also the fact that we have a number of work groups, the operative word there being work. So we do want people to sign up for multiple things, and we want you to know more about what those things are. So we're going to ask the leaders of our teams, starting with the election work, to give 2 or 3 minutes of what it is they're about and why they need you. As you respond, please put your name, your email, and the type of election work, starting off here, that you're interested in, and we'll put you on that list. You could also send a direct message to uh, uh, Aaron GB and in the chat as well. So with that, we will start off with a bang with phone banking, which is led by Valerie Manson.
Hi. Um, I guess, can you hear me, see me?
We can
Yep,
hear you.
you're good.
Okay.
You're good, Valerie.
Okay, thanks. Um, I know we're talking about the primary to, general, but phone bank team is still working. So if anybody has any time between now and Tuesday at 6 o'clock and would be willing to make calls, we would love to have you. It doesn't have to be just at night. Now that more people are working from home, you can call there during the day. So please put your name in the chat and I will send you the links and you can call for Onika. Those conversations are so fabulous. Those people really, really want somebody who will get those roads paved and watch out for those data centers. Calling for Jasmine, so important and so exciting to get a fighter to Congress. And then the Supremes, if we flip, we need people who are going to support the legislation that'll be passed. So if you have any time at all between now and Tuesday and willing to call, please put your name in the chat and I'll get those links to you and let's make a difference in the next few days. So, and then after that, again, if there's a runoff, we will be involved with that. And in our case, that would be Onika and Jasmine. Those would be the only possible ones. The Supreme Court one is an election. Then in looking after that in May to the general, as Becky pointed out, in June we'll start looking necessary trouble. We'll start looking at who we adopt. The House candidates, we will continue our relationship with the PSC candidates, and then look at what we're doing with the rural or groups and the Fighting 50. One of the nice advantages of phone banking is that it doesn't matter where they are, in that you can call from anywhere to anywhere. We've been involved with Eric Isler, for example, who is over in Athens, and we did a lot of phone banking. Postcards have the same advantage too. So if you are interested in helping making those calls, we'll be coordinating with the campaigns and obviously with the coordinated campaign to make a difference. You don't have to sign up for all of the campaigns. What we do is once we know who we're committing to and going to adopt, then I'll get the links and then send those out. Traditionally, usually the postcards go first because they have to get done and out earlier. And then the canvassing gets their turfs because they've, boots on the ground. And then we'll get our links and start making those calls. And while we are often the last to get started, we also go up to 6 o'clock on election day. So it all works out really, really nicely with all of that. So please, if you can help now through Tuesday um, and even beyond that, once your name's on my list, you're forever in the phone list and you'll get the links. So thank you so much. Love doing it and would love to have you help. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Valerie. And Valerie does just an incredible job and makes it just so easy for anyone who does sign up. So I say that anyway, thank you. And as she mentioned, this is a stacked effort here. And as Becky has referred to that. So the next part of our stacking, or one portion, is canvassing. And with that, Anna Marie Schwarzkopf, lead the way.
Thank you, Pam. Well, we just finished our final turf 2 hours ago. I say final, but we will be going strong again after these primaries are over. If there's a runoff, as we said, between Jasmine and a primary opponent, then we'll be out there fighting again. Once the other races gear up, we'll be canvassing again, and I will be recruiting again. But for right now, I'm just recapping what we've done. We'll be canvassing, though, as Becky said, for the Public Service Commission candidates, for the Georgia House candidates, and for any other candidates that Necessary Trouble selects to adopt. So now I'd just like to thank my great team of canvassers, including my co-lead Nikita, and also Melissa, who is always ready to jump in and help me. And of course, the more than 40 canvassers who drove all the way to Lawrenceville to canvass for Jasmine. We started on February 22nd and canvassed until today. Some of this team came out many, many times. Some of them took turfs to do on their own during the week. I have to mention one particular stalwart and mighty little worker who came out almost every single Saturday morning. She was amazing. She talked to more people and to more Ring doorbells than anyone else. A gold star goes to Margaret Blackman. Thank you. So in total, we knocked on over 3,200 doors, behind which were over 5,000 people. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that was enough to put Jasmine over the top. So please put your name in the chat if you are not already on my list. If you're on my list, you, like Valerie said, will never come off. But thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna Marie. And don't take that as a threat, everyone here. This is all good work, good trouble here. So bringing up another facet of the election work and everything is postcarding, which has already been referred to. And Kate King is our queen of postcarding. And so please let us know more, Kate.
I prefer the term postcard wrangler, but anyway, if
okay.
you want to be queen, that's okay.
For the future, thank you.
Well, it will not surprise you that we're not postcarding right now since the election's in a couple of days. But the great thing about postcarding is we can, during the kind of slow months of the summer when it's too soon to canvass and it's too soon to phone bank, we can be writing thousands of postcards to stockpile, to mail on an appropriate date close to the election. So, you know, postcarding will be kind of an ongoing thing once we decide who we're adopting. And as somebody mentioned, we'll be writing for at least one and probably more fighting 50 candidates. And postcarding really, like phone banking, you can do it anywhere, anytime in your pajamas. And it really does move the needle and get voters out. So if you're interested in postcarding, I have nothing for you right this second, but I will soon. Please, if you're not already on my list, and again, that's like the other two lists. Once you're on, you're never going to get off. If you're not already on it, put your name and contact info in the chat, and you'll be hearing from me soon.
Thanks again, Kate. And everyone, just a reminder that you can sign up for multiple things here. You can be on multiple lists as well here and have even more impact and use your time wisely. So thank you. The Public Service Commission, Becky had mentioned that and the importance of, and I will just say, just because Becky knows just how close to my heart the Public Service Commission is, because I was very involved in that last year and remain very involved. The game changer, if in fact we get both Peter reelected and that third seat, that then becomes a Democratic majority on a statewide board. So very, very big victory and super, super important for all citizens of Georgia. So with that, Beth Levine, my old partner, Please tell us more.
Pam, well, really, there's not a whole lot more to say right now. It's wonderful. No, it's wonderful. The enthusiasm for, getting a Dem majority in the Public Service Commission. The reason I went there last year with my heart and 100% of all of me is because it's so intersectional. And that statewide, it's economics, it's kitchen table stuff, it's environment, it's clean air, clean water, and it's corruption, fighting corruption. I mean, it's got everything in there. And so that's one of the reasons my heart is there. And as you heard, we'll be doing all of these things with the fantastic team of Valerie, Anna Marie, and Kate King, not to mention bannering with Onika. And we're going to do tabling. I mean, we're going to do everything that we can as we did before. So it's kind of a wait and see what happens with if we have a runoff in District 5. But then come late-ish summer, we will be all out in, I love this coordinated campaign concept. So we're in with all of that. And let me say, I've been making my phone calls, Valerie, not as many as I had hoped. And I will be getting out to knock on doors, Anne Marie, even though I haven't yet for this cycle. And Kate, my handwriting's just not legible. So sorry, but I'm good for stamps. If someone needs stamps, let me know. And anybody who's interested, again, in Public Service Commission, just let us know. We have a meeting coming this Wednesday. We've been meeting monthly, and there I will go over some of the details of some pretty rough hearings that we had this week and the week before. No surprise, they were not a good outcome because we don't yet have a majority. So that would be Wednesday if anybody wants to come join us. Just put your name in the chat and I'll get back to you. Thanks. That's it, Pam.
Thank you. That's why I love you here, because you just give it all in terms of why this is so important and all. And I'm glad that you mentioned the hearings, because as people are signing up, one of the other things they can do is go down and sit in these hearings and such, which supports the candidates who are already elected and keeps an eye on people who are, as we say, not that legit here. So anyway, next one, Fighting 50 here. And Pam Woodley, my sister Pam here, please.
Thank you, Pam. And Anne Marie, that's amazing. 5,000 doors. Wow, wow, wow. So the Fighting 50 candidates they're so excited. They're having such a good time. I just got this text this morning from a guy who's in Northwest Georgia, 18% Kamala district. He says, I'm getting so much ground level support from highly unlikely groups of people. Even business groups, lifelong Republicans are coming around. It's organic and it's beyond my wildest dreams. So they're all just so excited and really having a good time. I do have to temper their expectations, that they're probably not going to win. Things don't change that fast, but anyway, that's a good problem to have. But and thank you to Necessary Trouble, my biggest source of volunteers. And I just wanted to share with you one way the Rural Partnership is helping us out right now. Becky, are you going to be able to show that?
Yep. Sorry, give me a minute.
So we're putting together little policy papers on various issues. And for example, one was on the Republicans' proposal to eliminate the state income tax and what that really does. Long story short, it screws poor people and benefits rich people. And to supplement those, the Rural Partnership with their social media group is putting together social media posts for the candidates to use. This one is just the kind of thing they're doing just for individual candidates. The next slide, this is one of the ones they did for eliminating the state income tax. If you're not rich, you'll get screwed. So that's been really great. The candidates are really appreciating to have this help. And I think we can go to Aquaria now to talk about the other things the Rural Partnership is doing.
Thank you, Pam. Hi, everyone. And actually, I just want to kind of close out. Thank you for kind of segue that and showing a visual of what we're doing and as rural partnerships. Let me get my screen up. Sorry. What I want to say is that following this presentation and what you all can see is that how we are supporting these candidates across Georgia, and that especially in these red and rural districts where it matters so much. And many of these candidates, one of the things besides, Pam tempering their expectations is that one of the things that we do know is that they deeply understand their communities and the issues that impact them. And so what we recognize is that how can we continue to help them and make a difference and increase those points across the board that actually helps Georgia in the long run. And so by looking at social media and a way to connect, that's how we decided to raise our hand and sign up. So understanding that campaigns may not have the time or staffing of the digital infrastructure to help, this is where we troublers have decided to come in, and we're asking for you all's help. Now, you all may not know, but there are about 70 candidates. Now, not all are going to sign up for the social media assistance, but many have. So we need you all to put your names in the chat with your email, and if you have the ability to work in Canva and create graphic design such as that, I don't know, that kind of looks like very maybe advanced work, but if that's not something that you're willing to do, we have something else for you. But those who are really, really interested and want to learn Canva and want to be a part of this major initiative, we want you to put your name and email, and with the 2 letters DC, which lets us know you're a digital creator. And for those who we're asking for volunteer engagement, that's right. We need to follow these candidates to see how well they're doing. And with that, put your name, email in the chat with the 2 letters FC, which stands for follow candidate. So we know exactly what bucket you fall in. And with that, we're able to keep in contact with our candidates to see how they're doing and how they're keeping engaged across Georgia. But one of the things I kind of wanted to leave more importantly as kind of empowering you to just raise your hand and step up, because it's something a little different Necessary Trouble has done, which is, kind of engage in the social media stratosphere, which is after going to see Still the Story Please and hearing from Amy Goodman, one of the things she reminded me about is why grassroots engagement matters. And she referenced Dr. King's speech Beyond Vietnam. She talked about the 3 triplets or the 3 interwoven evils, which is racism, materialism, and militarism, and the call for a radical revolution of values. We cannot treat economic inequality, attack on civil rights, and the concentration of political powers as separate issues. They are connected. And too many people want us to believe that power belongs to corporations, billionaires, political insiders, and special interests. But history has always shown us different. Real power comes from people willing to organize, stay engaged, and fight for their communities, not from the top down, but from the ground up. Troublers, we the people have the power. Power to the people. Let's keep building.
Thank you so much, Aquaria. And thank you, Beth, for tapping your head to say that you couldn't hear me. Anyway, for that report and also the inspiration that you provided as well. So, and with that, we're going to come to voter protection, because as we get these folks out and everything, we also want to make sure that their votes count and they know why they're voting. So this is super, super important. Jane Seward, if you want to.
Thank you. I'm co-chairing this group with Leslie High. We've been focused on some special projects that we've had that we've helped the DPG with. But we know that a lot of necessary trouble people also work on the hotline, the voter protection hotline. That the hotline is very well staffed at the moment. So thanks to those who are doing that, but we don't need more volunteers for that. We put out a request recently for volunteers to work on counting ballots accurately, acting on vote review panels, ballot duplication panels, and also doing ballot monitoring, but mainly the other two panels for the audit in DeKalb after the primary election. And we had a great response. We had 10 people sign up for that, which is wonderful. And that new people who hadn't done the training can take the training online. There will be a huge need for this kind of work in November because we anticipate, as you all know, a lot of shenanigans, a lot of probably problems with counting ballots or the Republicans suggesting there's problems with counting ballots, and there may be a lot of different audits. So what we really would like to highlight is getting people trained for that between now and November. So we have a big group of people trained in doing those three things that help count the process the ballots, accurately watch how the ballots are processed and report on that, and then help with if there's any question about what a voter intended on their ballot. They may not have checked the box exactly right. It may not have been counted and it gets rejected by the scanner. Then it gets reviewed visually by a panel that's made up of one Democratic appointee, one Republican, and one person from the election office. And so we want to help the Democratic Party get a lot of volunteers to work in all the counties around the Atlanta area, particularly. So DPG is happy to do as much training for that as needed between now and November. So just stay tuned for that. There's not an immediate need for the primary that's pretty much taken care of. So just watch for future alerts about that. We do have a VoPro team. If you'd like to sign up now for the team, you can put your name in the chat, but there will be more communications through Pat's, great newsletter. So just watch for that. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jane. Just such an important avenue here. And with that, we're going to follow up. There's one additional thing that is not on our current agenda, but it's a special piece in regard to opposition research and a new effort.
Oops.
Becky, would you like to inform us on that?
Yes, and Pam, you had dropped out there for a minute, your audio. What I wanted, and now you're back. You're back. Good. I wanted to make a very quick pitch about opposition research. We have a longtime troubler who has spent much of his career doing opposition research. And he is actually, unfortunately, starting to lose some of his vision and is very much wanting to train some people, some troublers, in how to do opposition research. And so we would love to start putting together a little team of folks interested in this area. You do not need to know anything about it so far. If you do, that's great, but you don't have to. And if you would be interested in getting trained to put that and being involved in that, please put your name and email in the chat, and we will circle back with you. So thanks so much. Opposition research, name and email in the chat. Thanks, Pam.
Thank you, Becky. That sounds really interesting, actually, and very timely. Very timely. So with that, we are going to leave the election field and move on to a couple of newer areas that we have had. And so the first is Anissa Alexander is going to talk to us about mutual aid and the heat wave team. And I can say on this one, I've been doing the food commune and everything. So if in fact you want to you should do some election work and then come back. And if you want to do some things with the food commune and the other projects and such, it's a great way to lift your spirits as well. So, Anissa?
Hi, thank you. Okay, took me for a moment. I need to get my notes up. But it's been really great. We're working in the mutual aid group. It's one of our newest groups, and just kind of working on supporting our neighbors and community, and really, really connecting, you know, with the people that are directly affected in DeKalb, in Fulton. So right now, our biggest projects right now are going to be food community, which you mentioned. It's been going out in the newsletters that's focused around um, food waste and basically accepting food that would otherwise be thrown away, but is, still very good food, and kind of sorting through it and making sure that we can separate out what needs to go to compost and like local farmers versus what is still something that people can eat, and kind of keep it out of a landfill and help serve our communities. We work on that one every Saturday. There's in the morning, there's just in the afternoon. It's very flexible, and it always goes out and mobilize. Additionally, we have a Google group now, and in that group, we've been working with IRW's mutual aid group, for heat wave. So the whole concept behind this is going to be about working in communities to basically make these interconnected neighborhood networks for collecting resources, necessities, food for neighbors that may not feel comfortable leaving their house because of ICE presence, because of, just the general, the risks, in the current state, of this country right now. And so by working together, we are able to contribute and combine so much more resources and materials than we would as one person trying to donate to a food bank or something like that. Most recently, we had our Mother's Day sorting. We went and volunteered with other groups, and there was about 700 pounds of food that was sorted in that one couple hours on a Mother's Day, that was going to be distributed to families that a lot of them have lost their primary source of income, or lost many of the adults that are in this family, leaving a lot of like vulnerable children. So it's really something that's got a lot of impact for not a lot of continuous work, but it really does have a direct benefit and really helps people immediately. So it's been great working on it. If you want more information, we're posting constantly on our Google group, as well as things come up. It's not something that's going to be like a constant need people every second. So if you're already doing something, it can be something that you kind of jump in and do a couple hours and really just benefit other people and benefit your community. So thank you.
Thank you, Anissa, and I think it's great that you've got the immigrant and refugee work group and the mutual aid groups working together for even more impact. So appreciate that. And then we're going to the next one that's on our list is bannering. I think bannering affects everything that we do. So Sherry, tell us more. Sherry Miller.
Hello. So I'm Sherry. I'm one of the co-leads for the bannering group. For those of you that aren't familiar, our bannering work involves us creating very large signs that are visible and displayed over highway overpasses. So we're able to get a lot of eyes on compelling messages very quickly. So even in an hour and a half, a lot of people are able to see, these signs of solidarity. And we get a lot of engagement from drivers. I think it's a really rewarding experience in many ways. It's also great to spend time with other travelers. So we're working right now on some special dates to display some Get Out the Vote banners up until Tuesday, and then of course ongoing. And we'll also be planning for some other important messages around solidarity with our immigrant population, as well as some other things. So if you're interested, it can be a really great couple of hours. Please let us know if you want to try it out. It'd be great to see you. So.
Thanks so much, Sherry, and also for just the reminder in the chat and everything of people. These are also volunteer opportunities. So by all means, sign up for mutual aid, sign up for the bannering and such. And also, we are, speaking of feeling good, Amaryllis Alexander is going to tell us about a trip that is being planned for this coming June.
Good evening, everyone. This is Amaryllis here. Want to share 2 events with you.
True.
The first event, save the date. We thought this would be very fitting after the runoff in June. So please save the date for July 26th at 10 o'clock at Ebenezer Baptist Church. And following that service, we will go over to Pascal's and fellowship and talk about the sermon and just fellowship with each other and just have some clarity, particularly after the elections. The second trip was actually planned for August 22nd, but we do not have all of the details yet, so there's no save the date for that. So please save the date for July 26th. More details will follow. These trips were actually born out of some previous trips from the Troublers. And last year we went to Selma, had a great time. And then we went to Montgomery, the 60th anniversary for the bus boycott. So please save the date. More details will go out probably in the newsletter from Pat or from Becky. So please join us. Look forward to fellowshipping with you all. And from what we understand, Senator Reverend Warnock will be there at 10 o'clock. So it should be a very uplifting service. So look forward to you all joining us. Thank you.
What a wonderful way to conclude the primary season and embark on the elections cycle that will be starting. So thank you so much, Amaryllis, and anyone who went on the Montgomery bus trip that was back, I think, in December and everything, realizes just what a great job Amaryllis does in pulling these things together. So
thank you, Pam. Appreciate it.
And thank you. And now I'm going to turn it back over to PJ because you have seen just how much work there is being done and to be done here. Sign up and let's hear about our next meeting.
Thank you so much, Pam. And please forgive me. Usually when I do my notes, I will say Pam 1 or Pam 2. This time I didn't put the 1 or the 2 and I couldn't figure out, and I was quickly scrambling trying to figure out which one it was. So I do apologize for that. And thank you to all our speakers and work group leaders for those updates and for the incredible work you each are doing. It's inspiring to hear about the many ways people can plug in and make a difference over the coming months. We also want to thank everyone in attendance today for your time, your energy, and your willingness to get involved. Please continue to share your information in the chat. And if you'd like to participate in any of the work groups or activities discussed this afternoon, please sign up. I did phone banking for the first time, okay? So there's plenty work to be done. We truly need all hands on deck for the work ahead. And at this time, before we wrap up, I want to offer one more thank you to all today's speakers, organizers, volunteers, and attendees for being a part of this meeting and this community. Please go ahead and mark your calendars now for our next meeting, which is Sunday, June the 14th at 4:00 p.m. And We hope to see you all there. Thank you again for everything you're doing and for continuing to show up in support of this work. And now, Becky, again, it's time to close us out. Becky?
Thank you. Thank you, PJ. And we're going to do a little something different by way of closing today. Instead of a song, we're going to play a video. It's a 2-minute video. And what I would very much appreciate is I would like to ask Caroline Stover to introduce this video. Caroline, would you unmute yourself and come on?
Yes, thank you so much, Becky. I'm going to give a really brief backstory. I think almost everybody knows, but about a year ago, Becky got a call from Amilcar Valencia, the executive director of El Refugio. Amilcar needed help with a rally at the Atlanta ICE office for the release of Rodney Taylor. Again, we all are pretty familiar with Rodney's situation, a double amputee, father of 7. He was arrested by ICE in January 2025, even though he was in the process of getting his green card at the time. So Amilcar's first call in the spring of 2025 was to Necessary Trouble. And now, a year later, I think it really rates, excuse me, as the best news so far this year. Rodney Taylor was finally released on May 1st. He spent over 15 months in detention at Stewart. He's in good health. He's in the process of reopening his barbershop. But of course, he and the family are still dealing with enormous obstacles, not the least of which is the loss of Rodney's income for over a year. He's still suffering intense pain from conditions that he developed, medical conditions that he developed at Stewart in detention because of the physical and medical neglect he experienced there. And what he and his wife Mildred at this time seem to be hiding so well are the challenges they must be facing from PTSD and the trauma that the whole family has gone through for the past terrible 15 months. Rodney didn't ask to become the poster child for the worst of the worst that could be done to a person detained by ICE, but he is choosing to speak out and share his trauma and his story, knowing it can help in exposing the disgusting, inhumane policies by ICE and their willing partners, the for-profit prison system. So there will be more on that advocacy in the coming weeks and months. This isn't over. But for now, we are happy and joyful, and Necessary Troublers in particular have been amazing allies and participants and supporters over the past year. Without you, now I'm getting emotional. This could not have happened. So with that, we have a message for you from Rodney. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Caroline. And before we play the message that Rodney recorded after his release, huge gratitude to Caroline for her leadership over the course of the last year in wrangling all the protests and advocacy. She's done a stellar, incredible job. And this video also has a slightly quiet volume, so you might want to turn the volume up on your computer right now so you can hear it. It's as high as we can make it, but so just wanted to give folks that alert. Here we go.
Good morning, everybody. I am Rodney Taylor. After 15 months in Stewart Detention Center, I've been released. And I just want to thank every last one of y'all for who helped and participate in the fight. It's been a long road, and there were so many people that I didn't know about while I was in there that was helping me out and on my team. And when I got out and I found out, I just had to take this time to thank every last one of y'all. Indivisible Coalition Georgia, y'all amazing for your advocacy work. Amazing. Shout out to Caroline Stover. You're an amazing woman. Thank you for knocking on all the doors in the state capitol. I appreciate it 100%. Words can't express the level of work you did, and the letter you wrote in the AJC was a good one. And I just appreciate your efforts. Your efforts. Oh my goodness. I just want to say thank you. Thank you to Al. Thank you to Tammy. Thank you to Becky. Thank you to Tara. Thank you to Denise and Eric. Everything y'all did was amazing. Y'all did a lot of hard work that I didn't know about. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want to also give a shout out to Necessary Trouble. I think they call y'all the Troublers. And y'all did an amazing job. Everything y'all did, I just want to give y'all thanks, a shout out. Thanks to Tony Pastor, Rita, Michelle, Gareth. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything y'all done. All the work y'all do does not go in vain. You know, y'all give up all your time to do a lot of work, and I just want to say thank y'all from the bottom of my heart.
So, what an important reminder. What an important reminder of what this work is really about, right? What an important reminder that it's really about people's lives. And sometimes it looks like it's about going to a protest, or it looks like it's about knocking on a door, or it looks like it's about making a phone call, or it looks like it's about doing opposition research. But what it's really about is people's lives. And every once in a while, that message really penetrates. So what an honor and a privilege to be able to do this work, right? What an honor and a privilege to be able to meet this moment, and to meet this moment in really good company. So much gratitude, so much appreciation, and so much love to all of you. And we're just going to carry it forward. And can we just all come off mute for a moment, just for one last hoot and holler to get us going and through across the finish line on Tuesday, and then on to November.
Go, go,
Yay!
go.
Yay! Yay, yay, yay. Here we go. Let's keep it going and just rise and push and put our paddles in the water.
That's right. Amen. Yeah.
Thank you.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Gratitude and love to everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.